So, it's the winter snowy season, and you know what that means. It's time for the summer event for Arknights Global. So long, Adele is here. I saved a shitload of pulls and I just want one A altar and one Swire altar. Surely nothing will go wrong, right? Shit. So after a completely reasonable amount of pulls, I finally got A alt. Yay! And I got her again on a free pull. I should be happy, but why do I feel like the game is mocking me? Well, enough of the boring shit, time for the actual event. The event starts off with the status quo chapter. We find out that Siesta is almost empty because of the volcano that's about to blow up. We get introduced to Bird, she's just here to chill. Bison and Swire and Snowsunt are here to do some business. Swire bumps into Ennis, who she bribes with 2 fat wads of cash. Maybe Snowsunt and Ennis can bond over their shared brokenness, so they're like me for real for real. We also get the tired government employee of the event, he'll be important later. After all that, we finally get introduced to the titular character of the event, Adele, as she longingly gazes at her mother's lab coat while remembering her mother's words to her when she was young. We also get introduced to Keller, who was best friends with Adele's parents, as she tells Adele of what's happening at Siesta now and why she needs help from Adele. Mount Siesta is about to erupt. We find out that Bison and Swire are actually butting heads here, as Ennis scams Swire. On Adele's side, she tries to ask Keller about her parents, but Keller clams up about it when asked. We get introduced to Khan. Keller asks him to take Adele to her accommodations. Khan asks Adele if it's okay for her to be here because of her oropathy. Adele saying that there are children even younger than her that are worse off in Rhodes Island, calling herself one of the lucky ones. Regardless, Khan shows concern. Adele replying this with a heart-wrenching line and saying that she has so much more to do and that she can't let her parents' research end like this. She expresses that she misses her parents. Khan, meanwhile, is suspicious of Keller and hints of something ominous going on. Meanwhile, something is letting its presence known. What the? With this first stage, we get to see the main mechanic of the event being managing steam. You see, when your operators are standing on the pink steam, they take an increased amount of damage, while they take a reduced amount of damage when they stand on the white steam. The opposite being true for the enemies. This stage in particular has the 2 generic melee and ranged enemies of the event. The unique thing about them is that they release pink steam when they die. The first few stages are, unsurprisingly, very easy, as it is in every event. Nothing really interesting happens, so I'm just gonna speed the footage up.
Hello, everyone!
Dolly lets himself known to Adele and asks her to walk with him. Dolly leads Adele to an alleyway full of sheep. Adele, however, expresses concern as she said that people in fairy tales usually see strange things when they're about to die. Jesus. Dolly thankfully reassures her that is not the case. Adele asks her if her mother was the one to ask Dolly to look after her. Dolly replies that he was friends with Adele's parents and that he couldn't save them from the volcano. He tries to console Adele by offering her to rub herself on his wool. Dolly asks Adele if she is happy, Adele dodging the question, saying she needs to continue her parents' research. But this doesn't work on Dolly as he asks, so you're not happy. Dolly then asks her to play a game with him, a treasure hunt of 3 things: the north wind, a seed, and fur. With that, the driving force of the story is set. Adele is working as a museum guide talking about originema slugs. Swire walks in and greets her. Dolly starts some mischief as he does this. Adele freaks out about it, just a little bit, but it seems Swire, and anyone else for that matter, doesn't see Dolly. Moving along, Adele gets some mail, the addressee and addressor not clear as the mail has been damaged. But seemingly, it's from her parents. Adele tries to look for anything that her father had written down to compare the handwriting. Khan, again showing concern, asks her to get obsidian for him, to walk around and get her mind off things. As Adele got to the place Khan told her to go to, asks the hotel owner about obsidian, only to get the cold shoulder. But after some convincing, he tells her where she could ask for some. But sheep. Adele gives chase to the sheep, not paying attention to where she's going or not hearing the warnings. She bumps into Ennis, which knocks her out. When she comes to, she overhears Ceylon talking to Ennis. We find out that he has oropathy crystallizing near his heart. This is the reason why he was so desperately trying to get enough money for his little siblings. He leaves despite Ceylon's instructions. Adele talks to Ceylon, the latter basically forcing her to stay in bed and rest. As she does, she starts reading the letters that were seemingly from her parents. She starts writing back. Why? At this point of the story, I doubt even she knows. So she just continues writing as tears fall on her face. Back to Swire, she offers some help to Ennis as long as he helps her in return. Adele, meanwhile, is back at the museum when Ennis's younger siblings show up asking about their father. She leads them back home to Ennis, who she buys the obsidian from. Later, inside the diner, Ennis's mom confronts him about the oropathy that he has been hiding from everyone, saying he can't just decide to leave after finishing up everything to die alone and away from his blissfully ignorant mother. Ennis doesn't know how to respond to this, but things de-escalate as Bird sings a song for them. They enjoy the music. a song called The North Wind. Later, Ennis sets up the signs for the restaurant reading White Volcano. Seeing this, Adele realizes that the letters she had received were in fact not from her parents, rather Ennis's father. Adele seemingly dons her mother's coat as she is pressured into going to the sheep's party. As things progress, things seem to suggest that Keller is not to be trusted. She's hiding something from Adele, maybe about her involvement in the death of her parents, but definitely something about the circumstances of their death. One particular spawn of Dolly, for the second time, asks her if she's happy, but it quickly surmises that she isn't. Adele wakes back up in the cafe. Turns out this was just a dream. Adele reads some old files to see that Keller was in the same team as her parents, but that she withdrew the day before they ascended into the volcano. Speak of the devil, Keller shows up to tell Adele that the volcano may erupt a few days early. This of course delights Dolly. He can lava surf earlier after all. Keller also tells Adele that someone stole one of the exhibits, a whistling rock. I wonder who's responsible. Adele scolds Dolly for trashing some areas with his mischief, like buy some stuff. To make up for it, he offers to cry to call over all his little guys, saying things like free ice cream. But Dolly says it wouldn't work anymore if he did it, so he lets Adele do it instead. So, Dolly tricks Adele into screaming free ice cream, which causes a bunch of people to crowd around where she is. But uh-oh, one of Dolly's spawns steals somebody's wallet, and it's the same bastard that stole the whistling rock. Adele makes chase again as it makes more chaos, stealing 2 whole coins from Snowsand, and sends Ennis flying. As Adele is still chasing, it squeezes through the doors of a locked cafe. She bumps into the tired guy from earlier, his name is Costa by the way, and he unlocks the cafe for Adele, since he needed something from the cafe as well. Costa finds what he's looking for, but after no luck of finding the little sheep, Adele and Costa start talking. It seems that he knows Keller somehow. He asks her to give Keller a binder. They get out of the cafe as Dolly catches his own spawn for Adele and gives back all the stolen items. It seems Dolly had set all of this up to drag Adele out of the museum and just start enjoying her time in Siesta. You went out for a walk. You ate ice cream. You bought balloons. The sun's fine. The people are wonderful. And you've made a new friend, haven't you? That's the stuff of life. So Swire rents an entire damn hotel. Khan confronts Keller, voicing out his suspicion of her and telling her that Adele should just be happy and free. Adele then showing up to return the whistling rock and giving her the binder from Costa. Later, Dolly again dissuades Adele from doing work, telling her to go to the hot springs. And as if the fates willed it, Swire shows up to invite her to the hot springs. Swire surprises Adele by showing her a lively hot spring, almost as if it was old Siesta when there were loads of locals and tourists just enjoying their time here. As all of them enjoy the hot springs, it wouldn't be the same if Dolly didn't cause some mischief. Things settle down after a long while. Costa heads up to the cafe again where he used to work and brews some coffee for himself as Keller shows up. Adele scolds Dolly yet again as Dolly says that it was a fun day at the hot springs regardless. She tries to make a stern face but can't help but to giggle. Adele heads to the cafe to leave a note for Costa to inform him that the rock has been returned to the museum when she notices the cafe open. Inside she sees Costa and Keller. It seems that they have a lot of history together. Both of them were in Siesta when Costa used to work at the cafe, creating weird drinks like coffee made with sparkling water, serving it to Keller and Adele's parents. Meanwhile outside, the sheep starts to rummage around the trash to collect caps from the bottles of sparkling water, these bottle caps being the seeds in Dolly's game. Adele seemingly dons her mother's coat again as some sheep tell her to climb the volcano, and saying to climb it, they would need to buy courage, knowledge, curiosity, and luck to do it. One of the sheep doesn't have enough money to buy all the courage that it needs, but it tells Adele that it's okay and that she can just find the courage by itself. The 2 sheep take Adele up into the air, and for the first time, the sheep notice that Adele seems to be in a good mood. They ask her to plant a pebble, saying that they've done it before too. They water it with love and memories. Adele asking if you can buy those too. No, they reply. Those are our own treasures. They eventually lost track of their pebble and felt regret because of that. The 3 of them reach the peak and they start the descent together. They get back to the ground as Adele excitedly suggests some more things they can do together, but realize that the 2 sheep aren't following her anymore. The sheep step back, their figures melting into the night. No, Adele, we have to go, they say. They start to leave as they tell her to go to the peak. The peak has a wonderful view and also the truth. Before they go, they tell her one last thing. So long, Adele. This part of the story is amazing, and I did not do it justice at all. The scripting for this part, and honestly all the parts that have Adele, Dolly, or Keller are just amazing, to the point where while making this part of the script, I even got a bit emotional, since this is the first time in the event where we get to see Adele actually happy and excited about something. But that feeling obviously just didn't last very long. Adele's happiness being a major theme in this story, with Dolly and the sheep representing Adele's mother asking if Adele was happy. The answer both times was obvious no. We'll get to see this theme later in the story too, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll stop wasting your time. Back to the event. Keller wakes Adele up. Apparently, she slept in the middle of the data gathering lab. Adele takes this opportunity to ask Keller things about her parents, but to no avail. Keller again saying that she'll tell Adele later. Adele calls for Dolly too, but this time he doesn't show up. She keeps trying, but Dolly still won't show up, or any of the sheep for that matter. She eventually decides to ask for some help from Ceylon, who tells her to get some rest. Later that night, she encounters a lone sheep. Okay, so SL6 is the first actual stage where you need to take advantage of the steam mechanic. Not only is this the first stage to have fluffy buddies, but also the caster sheep. As I'm sure you are all aware, these sheep hurt if you're not standing on the white steam. Not only that, but they will attack 3 allies if they're on the pink steam. Otherwise though, they're a pushover. You just need to manage this team properly. Swire and Bison's negotiations end up with a partnership, when suddenly both of them get a call saying that they illegally hired undocumented infected. A competitor is trying to slander them. People from Colombia are setting things up to kick out the infected in Siesta. Adele makes chase as the last sheep scampers off. Keller suddenly calls to ask Adele for some help, but she fakes being sick. But busted. Concerned, Keller follows Adele as she follows the sheep. Keller starts reminiscing about the time she first met Adele's parents. Adele asks what they were like. Brilliant, interesting, and whoa, Keller, easy there. Keller seems like she wants to tell Adele something, but just can't. Swire and Bison made plans to counter the attack made on them. Ceylon gets a little peace with her father by talking about her mother, and Ennis talks to his mother about his actual plans for the future. Adele and Ceylon confide in each other about their experiences with their mother. Everything seems great. Until a call from Keller arrives about unusual activity in the volcano. It seems it's going to explode much sooner than expected. The data gathered showed intense activity in the volcano. Adele insists they go investigate. Keller rebuts by saying that it's too dangerous. Adele stops trying to convince her and asks if she could go alone. Keller of course rejects this. Nonetheless, Adele asks if she could have her mother's coat. For the first time, Adele actually dons her mother's coat. Adele and Keller ascend the volcano. Khan suddenly shows up with documents of the research of Adele's parents and letters between Keller and the Lathanian army, demanding Keller for some answers and refusing to go anywhere else beforehand. Despite, the volcano that's about to erupt. As Keller's about to answer, Dolly shows up. Wait, what the? We finally get to the boss stage of the event, and we're fighting against Dolly, of course. I mean, who else could it have been? Despite how it seems, his mechanics are actually very simple. His normal attacks prioritize ground units. He has an ability that will attack all targets in a straight, vertical line, prioritizing last deployed. Both of these attacks leaving pink smoke on the attack tiles. He also has a third attack where he makes all the pink smoke explode and dealing damage around it. Dolly should be the ultimate test of managing the steam currently on the field, since he not only produces a fuck ton of pink steam, but he also punishes you for leaving too much of it on the map. To add icing on the cake, he also has a massive amount of damage reduction, which will only go away when his shield breaks via either breaking bottles on him or attacking him with operators beside the geysers. In this stage in particular, he is not scary at all, with Cruise Alter absolutely demolishing him, and Lazy plus any lane holder at all take care of everything else. Just make sure to manage that steam. As the volcano's activity continues to spike, Adele struggles to protect her companions. When things seems to take a turn for the worse, Dolly swoops in to save everyone. Adele looks around. As things have calmed, she looks at the other sheep and realizes that these aren't really just an extension of Dolly. Rather, they're his creations, to mimic people that have passed as they once were. Dolly affirms this, as he also realizes that Adele has finally gotten the last piece of the game, the fur. In fact, she's wearing it, her mother's coat. Dolly admits that all of this was just an effort to make Adele have some fun, or to accept the fact that she misses her parents, that no one would deny her the right to be sad or afraid, to learn not to act tough. Adele asks why her in particular, because a girl as lovely as you is a rare sight in this world. Misfortune may find you often, but you have no less love than anybody else. Dolly prepares to leave as he says his farewell, asking Adele to keep a promise to him that the next time they meet, he'll get to see a truly happy Adele. After the volcano's eruption, we're back to the status quo. Keller finally lets Adele know what happened to her parents. They were forced into helping out with disputes among Lithanian nobles. They exchanged their research for a peaceful life. Her parents' death really was just an accident. They had always just hoped for Adele to not be like them, for her goals to always stay pure. We see everyone involved in the event with their new status quo and how they're doing after the eruption. We get to see Adele, again, write a letter to her parents, noting everything she's experienced in the past few days in Siesta, about how she met Keller and Dolly, and how she wants to explore all the places that they had experienced. But most of all, Adele just wanted to let them know that she's doing fine. So, that's the end of the story for So Long Adele. There's lots of things that I had to cut out, like almost all of the subplot, since I just wanted to tell Aya's story because I just found her story just so beautiful. Not to mention Keller, whose character is also incredibly layered as well. Well, that'll be all from
Fight!
Well, did you really think I'd end this video without showing the EX and S stages? Nah, but let's skip to EX7 since that's the first actually difficult stage of the event. And to prove a point, I'm going to do it in challenge mode with 5 stars only. So, honestly, SLEX7 isn't really that hard if you know what you're doing in the opening. You just need to make sure that the skateboard guy doesn't activate the smoke on the left side. We need those smoke tiles white. With the help of Lunacub and April, I take back all the space in the center really fast. After that, the rest of the stage is simple since Lazy and any Diesel Binder can solo flank the top lane. Just push your defense up when you kill the first wave of Supernova casters. SLEX8 is yet again another Cruise Alter and Lazy sweep. Nothing really much to say honestly. Just make sure you have the lane holders and Lazy, Cruise and a Wharf buff and of course a healer. Actually it's quite important to make your last deploy somewhere that isn't on the 2 lines that you're supposed to hold. I chose the high ground tile beside it since that means Dolly can't make any pink steam with his line attack. For the S stages, I'll only showcase SLS4 since, well, I ran out of time before I could clear SLS5 with only 5 stars. But some people say that SLS4 is harder anyway, so I'll take that as a win. This stage gave me a lot of trouble. The opening is quite brutal since it starts you off with Tornado Sheep, but baiting its attack with a fast redeploy makes it easy enough to kill with any high ground unit. Who your lane holder here isn't extremely important because from my experience you just need to make them stand on white smoke so that they'll live. Lazy actually wasn't enough even with Hibiscus Alter helping her out, but I suddenly remembered my CC12 max risk days and brought Manticores to slow down everything there, which made the clear very clean. The casters in the bottom right corner being handled by April with Cruise and Lappers for any strays. Alright, so that's So Long Adele. I actually had lots of fun with this event. It was definitely one of the harder ones, that's for sure. But I had fun regardless. Anyway, that'll be all from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. I definitely had fun making it. Alright, bye bye.